So we just finished talking about the introduction to Laravel, and you saw a lot of beautiful things about Laravel, but I believe it's important that we have a focus on one thing now, which is the MVC pattern. And the MVC pattern is a very important pattern that cuts across Laravel and cuts across a lot of other frameworks, and is the idea of a separation of concerns. You have the model, you have the view, you have the controller. So you see on the screen here a basic diagram that tries to illustrate the flow of model view controller. Now we start from the view, right? The V is the view. Don't ask me why we're starting from V, but that's how it comes. So we're starting from the view. So the view is basically what you see, the HTML, the CSS, JavaScript. For example, if you type textshantier.com, facebook.com, google.com, you see an interface like this, for example, this base interface. So this is actually the view, what you see, where you can actually click on buttons, you can actually type on a form, you can actually do a lot of other things on it, and you can give the command. So for example, if I click on this get started button, I am making an HTTP request, and the endpoint here, the route URI changes. And when it changes like that, you've clicked on, you have made a request, an HTTP request, it goes to a route. Now, the route is more of the traffic police. The route will say, for this particular request, which controller do I route the request to? So based on the controller you have written, the route that you have written, it goes to the controller. Now, the controller determines what it has to do. The controller is like the brain of your computer, right? The controller is the brain of your application. So it determines that, okay, I am supposed to pull data from the database. I'm supposed to make some mathematical computations. I'm supposed to do one or two things. And the controller now, for example, it has to maybe ask data from the database. So the controller will go to the database, but then the controller does not go to the database directly. It passes through the model, right? The model now is an abstraction of the database tables. So the model now will go to the database. Maybe it has to pull all users, maybe it has to find a particular item, maybe it has to create an object, maybe it has to update a record, maybe it has to delete a record. So the model now will do all of the work with the database and then send a result back to the controller. Maybe you were pulling data. So when I clicked on this, something came up here, right? And on this page, you have some data. This data is likely pulled from the database, and that job is done by the model. And once the model pulls the data from the database, right, the model will send the data back to the controller. And the controller now will take the data, do its magic, right? It will just do some nice magic and then send the results back to the view. And you're going to see like a beautiful HTML page that you can use to do whatever you want to do. So a basic, again, a brief rundown, a brief summary. You as the user, you are using your browser, you make a request. Your browser could be on your phone, could be on your laptop or your desktop. You make a request. The route determines which controller to send the request to. The controller now will make other computations, maybe pull data from the database and send the data back. And then the controller will gather that data and send it onto the view. Hope this helps to explain the concept of MVC with a core example of Laravel. In the next episode of this tutorial, we're going to look at setting up an environment. If you're loving the tutorial, please don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss up new videos that come up. Thank you and see you.